Hey, this is Kenny from Kenny's Audiophile Record Reviews. Thank you very much for viewing my channel. Please like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. That would help me out. In this video, I'm going to give my opinion and my assessment of the legendary record, Art Pepper Meets the Rhythm Section. This is a Craft Recordings reissue of the record. It features Art Pepper on alto sax, Red Garland piano, Paul Chambers bass, Philly Joe Jones drums. This is the same rhythm section. I played with Miles Davis. It was on Kinda Blue, with the exception Red Garland was not on Kinda Blue. That went to Bill Evans. He was on piano on Kinda Blue. But I'm going to get into this reissue by Craft Recordings. This was mastered in all analog mastering from the original analog tapes by the legendary Bernie Grundman. He's a fabulous mastering engineer, probably one of the best, if not the best ever. Pressed at QRP on 180 gram vinyl. The great pressing plant, QRP. A lot of people, or some people, make a deal of the cover, the quality of the cover. I assume it has to be due to maybe compared to earlier versions of the cover. I don't have an earlier version of the cover. At least I don't think. I should have checked my collection, but I don't think I have a version of this album. But to me, that cover looks fine. Yeah, they're probably comparing it to an earlier version, I assume. I don't know for sure. I'm just assuming that. But that being said, the cover looks fine to me. When I'm listening to this album, I'm really not thinking about the cover anyway. So quite frankly, that doesn't bother me. Yeah, when I was listening to this album, I have to tell you something. During the same listening session, and I was listening to this Bobby Hutcherson Stick Up album and this Andrew Hill Point of Departure album. I was listening to both of these albums during the same listening session of this Art Pepper Meets the Rhythm Section album. Now, the two albums that I just showed you, the Bobby Hutcherson and the Andrew Hill, are very three-dimensional, in my opinion, and they take advantage of the full sound stage, maybe a little bit beyond the speakers, and everywhere in between. You can really pick out instruments and performers in a three-dimensional sound space. This recording, however, is an old school, late 50s stereo recording. This was recorded in 1957, I believe, and it excuse me, and you get sound strictly out of the right speaker, the left speaker, and the right speaker, and maybe you hear some ambiance, maybe 6 inches, at times 12 inches, in either way of the speakers, but primarily Art Pepper is in the left, coming from the left speaker. Red Garland, Paul Chambers, and Philly Joe Jones, their performances is from the right speaker. And although I have many recordings of this type in my collection, I have not listened to one in quite some time. So when I went to the Andrew Hill album and the Bobby Hutcherson album to this one, there was a big difference in the stereo presentation. It was like going from high definition TV to standard definition TV, with Art Pepper being strictly on the left speaker and the other players, Red Garland, Paul Chambers, and Philly Joe Jones, being strictly on the right speaker. That took me off guard at first. But as I listened to the record more and more and more, I forgot about the fact that there's an old school, strictly left, strictly right stereo recording, because the performance was simply first rate and phenomenal. Art Pepper playing with this Miles Davis rhythm section, it sounded like they've been playing together for like a decade. It seemed like a natural fit. They were vibing and grooving. I mean, it was just the performance as a band. It sounded like they've been together for many years. Art Pepper, his performance is phenomenal and first rate. So are the rest of the players, Red Garland, Paul Chambers, Philly Joe Jones. You really, this this, as of the date of this video, I think the tapes are approximately 65 years old. And the sound of this recording gives you impression that like it was recorded yesterday. That's how detailed you hear the instruments, at least using my Riga P8 turntable with my Effeta 3 cartridge. It's just so detailed and dimensional, at least in terms of the realism of the instruments. People say this sometimes. They say, oh, it feels like they were in the room. Or on this one, on my turntable, on my speakers are kind of tall. At times I felt, gosh, Philly Joe Jones, it sounds so detailed, especially the drums came across real clear on my system. And this band is a natural fit, you know, like I said, the vibe and the groove and the rhythm and the just overall playing of these masterful professional jazz musicians was nothing short of phenomenal. And like I said, that made me forget about the strictly left, strictly right speaker, stereo speaker imaging of this record. Like I said, just simply phenomenal. It's Bernie Grundman, like I said, hit it out the park, and so did QRP. If I were to rate this record, I'd give it a 9 in terms of performance and a 9 in terms of sound. I mean, this is closest to a 10 as you can get. It's, ladies and gentlemen, this is a real jazz band playing real jazz music. That's what this is. That's what this is. Professional musicians at their best, at their zenith. Art Pepper meets the rhythm section. I highly recommend it. But before you buy this album, if you don't have it, I highly recommend listening to it on YouTube first, so you get an idea of the style of jazz, because this may not be for everyone. It's definitely for me. Like I said, these are professional musicians playing at their absolute best. I mean, it's just simply phenomenal. Highly recommended by me. Please leave your comments in the comment section below of this amazing recording. I'd really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that as well. Like I said, this was reissued on Kraft Recordings. And like, there's a stereo edition also, by the way. Please like and subscribe. Thank you very much for viewing. I really appreciate the love and attention and the respect you've given me in my videos. I really appreciate. Thank you for viewing. God bless. Strong love. Peace to all.